Hello everyone, my name is John Bussart. I'm an HPE Business Transformation Center engineer for Ingram Micro. I help support HPE servers, blade system storage, as well as networking technology solutions. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and then demonstrate to you what that means within a management context. Today, we're going to continue on our discussion with HPE's Morpheus VM Essentials virtualization software. I'm going to talk about it with a VMware administrator's perspective. I've certainly been managing VMware environments for a very long time. I started with ESX 2.0 and I got my first VCP with vSphere 3. Now, one of the things I like about this solution, it really has all the features and functionality that put virtualization on the map. And that's why I have this slide up here. What we're going to focus in on is the live migration features within this video. Certainly a lot of other features and functionality that this solution has beyond this slide, but it has these two features that I want to talk about today. So the live migration of virtual machines between different hardware platforms or different hypervisors without any downtime. So that is the migration of CPU as well as memory resources between different hypervisor hosts. If you will, this is the vMotion alternative within a VMware environment. We're also going to look at storage migration as well, so the ability to move virtual machine hard drives live and on the fly without any downtime within this environment. Right now, this solution, the hard drive files are not VMDK files, they're the open source QCOW2 files, but we can migrate them between different storage platforms, again, without any downtime. So those are the features that we're going to be looking at today. So without further ado, let's go take a look at how to do this within this management interface. All right, so this is our VM Essentials management interface. Let me log into this here. You notice this is a local resource. This isn't up in the cloud or anything like that. And this is our management interface, if you will. This is the vCenter alternative, if you will. I would say in some ways it's a little bit of a nicer platform to work with. So for example, if I go under infrastructure and clouds, you could see I could manage both VM Essentials environments as well as VMware environments, and these would be the management context for both of those. Now, there is an upsell opportunity that you could look at within your environment, or an upgrade opportunity, if you will. There is a Morpheus Enterprise platform as well that you can look at as really platform ops related. You could manage much more than just these clouds, many more hypervisors, as well as private and public cloud type of options. I would say if you're heavily invested in things like Ansible, Terraform, and things like this, this will help you automate those processes and bring it to the masses. Right? Again, you can upgrade from Morpheus VM Essentials to the Enterprise solution if you want to. But even with this, we have the ability to manage both VMware environments as well as VM Essentials environments. So that's kind of nice. You can see I can even dig into this and look at the virtual machines that exist in this cluster. Now what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go into provisioning and incidences. So these are the incidences that contain our virtual machine. As a matter of fact, this interface is this incident here. So there's a virtual machine with this in this incident that is running this management interface. But at any rate, we're talking about migration. So we're going to start off with storage migration. That takes a little bit longer to happen within the environment. So I'd like this to complete before we're done today. But at any rate, if I go into storage migration, we could see the virtual machine itself over here. And if I look at storage, we could see it sitting on local storage. Now, before I start kicking off that migration, I want to really discuss the platform that we're working with. If I go under infrastructure and I go to clusters, here's my VM Essentials cluster. You can see it's HCI based on Ceph. So if I dig in a little bit deeper, we can see that I have Ceph down here. So you can set up a hyper-converged infrastructure with this solution if you wanted to. Instead of using something like vSAN in a VMware environment, you would use Ceph within this environment. So as you create the cluster, you can create it based on Ceph. Certainly Ceph is used for some very, very large shared storage type of solutions that are out there. And if you don't know what software-defined storage is, basically what we're doing is taking local storage across multiple hypervisor hosts, grouping it together in a redundant fashion, and then presenting it back to the cluster as shared storage environment. So that's what I'm doing here. The point I really want to make is, even though I'm going to be performing these actions on a software-defined storage solution itself, for example, you could take these same processes and procedures I'm showing you and use it with other shared storage technologies such as Fiber Channel or iSCSI or something like that. Right? So that's completely the same process and procedure that we're going to go through. All right. Now, the name of the data store we're going to be moving to, if I look under storage, is going to be this right here. And that's kind of the name they use for their software-defined storage. You can see we've got a little bit of storage dedicated to that. All right, so let's go and migrate this storage. So if I go under provisioning and incidences, all right, here is that incident that contains our virtual machine. This is its IP address. So I've got a command prompt here. I'm going to start pinging this guy continually. Right. We can go into a console of this VM as well. See, it's a running VM. So maybe I'll do a listing of the files in the root directory. Right, or a listing of the folders, I should say. All right, so let's migrate this guy on over. So I'm going to do that under Actions. I'm going to click Reconfigure, and this is where I'd go to do other reconfigure options on this virtual machine. Maybe change the hard drive size, change the VLAN, CPU, and memory resources. But over here, we can see that we're sitting on local. Right? If I take the down arrow, you can see I've got our software-defined storage over here. So I'm going to select that, do a reconfigure, and this guy is going to start to migrate. Right? We can see that here. We can also go up top here, see that listed above. Right? If I scroll down and go into history, we get more information over here. I could click this caret, right, expand this on out. I could even click this little information icon and even get more detailed information. Right? I can also go under operations. Right? We were under the dashboard here. If you notice, when I open up that menu, it opened up sideways up here. But under activity, right, you can see I have history, and I can also see that migration happening here. Right. Again, we can go into this incident that contains this virtual machine. We do get these three dots telling us that something is happening. But if I go in here and we open up a console, again, we'll wake this guy up. Right. I could do a ping of maybe an external resource, something like Google. And you can see that's happening. We could also look at our command prompt over here, and we can see that we're not dropping any pings as a part of this migration. So that's the storage migration. Let's go do a virtual machine migration in this environment. So I've got another virtual machine set up for us. Let's describe what we have within our environment. So if I go down to this virtual machine here, right, we could see there's its address. And I happen to have another command prompt open, ready to start pinging that as well. Right. I can also get into a console of this guy. I can wake him up. All right, and I can interact with this system. Looks like I have some updates to do, huh? All right. Now, if I go under summary here, we can see that it sits on this hypervisor host. Right. If I go under infrastructure and I look at compute, you can see here's my ESX hosts that are over here, and here are my 3 VM Essential hosts. All right, so this is my second cluster number 1, second cluster number 2, and second cluster number 3. Now, if I remember right, our virtual machine was sitting on host 1, so I can actually go into this here and look at VMs, and we can see that virtual machine exists over here. Right. And if I select that virtual machine, again, we can see the host that's sitting on over here, but at the virtual machine level, and I could tell I'm at a virtual machine level because it says compute and then the virtual machine name. But if I want to migrate this guy, I'm going to go under Actions. And I'm going to click Manage Placement. And we'll move that from the first host to the second host within this environment. So you certainly do want to think of clusters in this environment in sets of 3 hosts. And that's the way that these features will work, is by leveraging 3 hosts in the environment. You certainly do need 3 hosts for shared storage type of technologies. Now with that migration happening, I can go up to here. We can see it move. It looks like our storage migration has completed. I can also see that migration happening again under History here. If I click the little caret, and again we can get more information. And again, we can go under Operations and Activity, then History. And we can see that migration has already stopped, already completed. Again, we can go over here. Looks like we dropped the ping. We had a little bit of slower ping up here. All right, but you can see that that's worked pretty successfully. We can also see our storage migration didn't drop any pings as a part of its migration as well. So that was very easy to do within that environment. Now we can go look at our status here. So we'll go over to Incidences, and then we'll go look at our storage migration. All right, we'll look under Storage, and we'll see that's on the shared storage. All right, if I wanted to move it back, I just go under Actions, Reconfigure, move it back to local if I wanted to. We can go back under Provision and Instances and go down to this host. Again, we could see that is sitting on 2. Now, you won't see a migration feature at the incident level. You really have to go into the virtual machine to see the migration or the placement. So if I go under Actions, we'll see Manage Placement. And then once again, we can move that over to host 1 and click Save Changes. Right, so that's how the migration features work within HPE's Morpheus VM Essentials. I hope you found this video informative, and certainly stay tuned for more videos.